Okay, looks like we have people joining us still. And as people join, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'd like to welcome you all to our 5th session on Talking Interoperability. My name is Melis Güven, and I'm the Global Lead for Social Protection Delivery Systems at the World Bank, and I have the pleasure of setting the context for this interesting event this morning. This event is part of a dialogue series where each session focuses on one country example, and the dialogue series is organized by the Digital Convergence Initiative, and I'll talk to you more about that in a little bit. Next slide, please. So before we start the presentation, let's look at the agenda for today. So what are we going to cover during this event? Following these introductory remarks, we will move to our guest speakers, and today's presentation will be an excellent opportunity to hear about the experience of the General Secretariat of the National Social Protection Council in Cambodia, and we're going to talk about their experience in harmonization of digital social protection. And one of the mandates of the Secretariat is to support better digital interoperability of social protection in the country. And their presentation will be followed by a panel discussion, after which we will open the floor for questions from the audience to allow for an exchange. And this is obviously consistent with the name of the series. It's a dialogue series, and we would most certainly like to promote that dialogue. We have 2 hours for our session, and we will wrap up with some closing remarks, highlighting main points from the discussion at the end of the event. Next slide, please. So quickly, some housekeeping rules. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box, and you can share your comments or resources in the chat box. Please note that we have simultaneous interpretation today from and to Spanish and also French. Also, I'd like to let everyone know that the session will be recorded and made available following the session. Next slide, please. Now, just to provide you with some more background on this dialogue series, the Digital Convergence Initiative is a joint effort under the Universal Social Protection 2030, USP 2030 in short. And while the dialogue series is organized by USP 2030 members, the objective is to be more inclusive by going beyond USP 2030 members to include representatives of governments, development partners, and private sector. And this is towards creating a harmonized and interoperable digital ecosystem for social protection. So as you know, social protection relies on a number of digital solutions, from identification systems to social registries to payment systems and others. And there have been quite a lot of initiatives to develop digital solutions to support implementation of social protection in the recent years. And these initiatives have been accelerated during COVID. And the pandemic also underscored the importance of such digital-based systems in responding to the crisis as well, for the systems to be more shock responsive. And of course, there are other crises that are on the horizon, the food and fuel price increases, the refugee crisis because of the war in Ukraine, and of course, the enormous challenge of climate change. And all of these are very, very relevant for social protection, particularly for adaptive social protection. So it's really important that social protection systems are supported by robust delivery systems, leveraging technology, And it is possible to present better and integrated solutions to countries if these global digital initiatives that I mentioned earlier can be interoperable and can be presented to countries as a package of solutions for them to then pick and choose depending on their needs. So the purpose of the Digital Convergence Initiative is to promote building consensus around standards with the objective to achieve interoperability. This would then allow to develop solutions that are interoperable, easy to use, easy to integrate, maintain, and scale based on globally agreed standards and guidelines. This would then allow to reduce time and costs of developing solutions at the country or program level. And it will also provide flexibility to countries to mix and match different components of different initiatives or develop in-house solutions based on these standards. And these standards would also aim to ensure that systems are future-proof by design. So they can be upgraded as they become obsolete and as maintenance becomes increasingly costly. Next slide, please. So this dialogue series is planned as a monthly series, and the objective is to facilitate in-depth technical conversations. Mainly, this series is an opportunity to talk about the nuts and bolts of country experiences, and specifically, we would like to promote learning and knowledge exchange on how countries design their social protection information systems for interoperability, and what were the challenges that they faced along the way and how those challenges were addressed. So we see this dialogue series as an excellent opportunity to learn about country experiences globally overall. Next slide, please. And so far, we've had 4 of these events on India, Karnataka State, Belgium, Turkey, and Chile. And recordings of these past events are available on Digital Convergence Initiative webpage. You can also reach these recordings on the socialprotection.org as well in case of interest. Next slide, please. So now it's time to introduce our panel, and we are delighted to have them join us today. Next slide. Our speakers from Cambodia are Mr. Sami Diok, the Deputy Secretary General of the General Secretariat for National Social Protection Council at the Ministry of Economy and Finance. Mr. Vesna Chatley, ICT specialist of General Affairs Department in the Secretariat at the Ministry of Economy and Finance again, and Mr. Michael Stowe, Embedded Advisor on Digital Health Protection at the Secretariat, and Michael will be supporting the Q&A session today. And we also have 2 discussants with us today who will share their reflections on the presentation, Finn Ko and Robert Palacios, and Anita Mittal will serve as the moderator for the event to facilitate the discussion. Next slide, please. So let me provide you more details about our panelists. Mr. Sami Diok, as the Deputy Secretary General of the Secretariat, he has led and substantially contributed to the establishment of the General Secretariat of National Social Protection Council. Currently, at the national level, he is accountable for monitoring and evaluation and digital transformation of national social protection, in addition to his other key roles in facilitating and monitoring the national social protection communication mechanism, international cooperation, development partners cooperation, social security regulator, and overall general affairs at the Secretariat. Next slide, please. Mr. Vesna Chatley is the lead ICT specialist at the General Secretariat of National Social Protection Council of Cambodia. He is driving the agenda of digital transformation for social protection at the technical level. He has also been a lecturer in software development and cybersecurity at Build Bright University since 2017. Next slide, please. Michael Stahl, as the advisor at the Secretariat, supports the team in strategic decision-making for digital transformation. He has more than 20 years of experience in social health protection, supporting various governments in reducing data fragmentation and creating digital investment opportunities. Next slide, please. Now, moving to our discussants, Finko is a program manager for social protection with the ILO in Cambodia. His work focuses on the development of the social protection systems by increasing capacity within national institutions through better adoption of technology, extending coverage, and improving benefits through enhanced coordination, frameworks, and implementation, and improving accountability through monitoring and evaluation, policy, and strategy reviews. Next slide, please. And our second discussant, Robert Palacios, is a lead specialist for pensions and social insurance, and also a member of the Identification for Development and government-to-person payments cross-sectoral initiatives at the World Bank. He was a member of the team that produced the World Bank's influential volume on international pension systems called the Averting the Old Age Crisis. And Robert has worked in more than 30 countries in Eastern Europe, Asia, Latin America, and Africa, and he's currently working in a number of East Asian countries in the context of social protection response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. And last but not least, Anita Mittal, our moderator today, is a senior advisor at GIZ and leads the Digital Convergence Initiative. She has extensive experience in the design and implementation of identification systems for client countries at the World Bank and e-governance applications in India. She earlier also has led the e-governance interoperability and standards project for the Ministry of ICT of Government of India, and also worked in private sector on software development. So these are the introductions, and with thanks to our panel, and without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Anita to facilitate the discussion. And thank you all again for joining us today, and over to you, Anita. Thank you.
Thank you, Melis. Thank you for setting the context and introducing the speakers for the session today. We're happy to have Cambodia, or the Kingdom of Cambodia, present their social protection journey and systems under the dialogue series. As Melis mentioned, we've had, this is the 5th session, we've had different countries at different level of readiness presenting their integrated systems. Last one was Chile, which has implemented a very well integrated systems with all the subcomponents working perfectly for quite some time. Whereas today what we will hear from Cambodia is something what is still in the works, what is working, how they're planning to achieve an integrated and interoperable system. I was just looking up and I saw that Cambodia has some of the good enablers, which is they've got a very high rate of literacy, over 80%. Then mobile penetration is 130%, and internet subscribers is 15 million in a population of 17 million. So I think lots of the enabling conditions for uptake of digital transformation in economy exists in Cambodia. So we are very happy to hear their journey on social protection today. Before the presentation, I would like to invite His Excellency C. Samediyo to give some opening remarks and set the context for the presentation by Mr. Viesna. Over to you, Mr. Samedi.
Okay, thank you so much, Anita. Also, thank you so much to Fernandas and Malis. I could hear that three of you already have introduced some of the Cambodian context already. So I think to welcome all peoples around the world here, I would like to say good evening from Cambodia, and today it is I'm very happy, and it is my great pleasure to share how how have Cambodia been doing, and how are we been dealing with especially the social protection agenda so far. So I'm having only four key points here. When at the same time, my colleagues Visna will have more detailed presentations on how digital social protection in Cambodia has been going on. First, I could see that our colleague from the World Bank, Melis, already gave some introduction to who is the General Secretariat for the National Social Protection Council in Cambodia. Well, in short, in addition to what Melis already introduced, I could say that the GS-NSPC, or the General Secretariat for the National Social Protection Council in Cambodia, we are social protection policy coordinators. What I'm saying that we are a coordinator is that the council, with the name council here, we are having 11 members from 11 government ministry joining together to establish the council, with helping the chairmen of the council from Ministry of Economy and Finance Cambodia. So it is why we call the council. And so far, the council have how to say put our focus on some key focus on social protection area, especially on social security sectors, on social assistance, on the cross-cutting issues, and on the governance aspects of social protection, which not only includes on policy coordination, not only on technical coordination. We also been dealing with lots of cross-cutting issues, especially M&Es, and one of the key topic for today is ICT, which is here we mostly use the word digital social protection, which we are working toward. And with this, you might wonder why Cambodia also start a digital social protection agenda with some of the key forecasts I just mentioned, especially on the cross-cutting issues in governance. So far, as maybe at least some of our colleagues here already well aware that we have many government ministry and institutions who are taking part on social protection with different aspects, especially with different systems where each of them they have say one ministry they have one system, another one they have another system, which all of this system so far we have seen the importance that we need to harmonize all of the system, as all of those systems that has already developed, they don't talk to each other. The information is not well exchanged. The information is not well shared among all policy maker, among all government ministries. So once after we established the General Secretariat for the National Social Protection Council, we acknowledge the importance of of fixing these issues of reducing the fragmentation in the social protection sector by harmonizing, introducing the harmonization agenda for all the existing system. And nowadays, we actually has already started a few steps already toward many big picture which we have conceptualized so far, what we call big pictures, which mainly focus on three main steps, which is first, the first step we are thinking to harmonize the identification and registration of the beneficiary, with which in more detail my colleague Visna will have a presentation later on. That is one of the main agenda that we are working step by step toward the establishment of social protection ID, and even with an ambitions toward the connection with the national ID system as well. The second step that we are moving toward is we are now starting to conceptualize on how could we integrate the operational platforms of all of those systems, because the system itself, starting with the identification and registration process, then the government would need to provide a benefit which to the beneficiary, which we also need to we also need to give the benefit to our beneficiaries through payment system. So we also think to integrate all of those operational platforms as well. And then our big ambitions that we are planning to go toward step 3 is the integrations of management information system, which we are having in our mind, working toward the harmonizations of the system of operators and service providers in our social protection. These are some of the key points that I would like to highlight here, and the details on how we have been working on, and the progress that we have made so far, and how has we been successful to kickstart all of this agenda, and how we could working toward a more comprehensive and more coverage in social protection. Mr. Visna will have a more detailed presentations on this, and I think now I would like to hand over the floor to Anita to further facilitate. So I hope all of you could learn something from us. We also hope that we could share something from you as well, because we are still in our initial step, working toward bigger pictures. So we are so happy to share with all of you here, and I would like to give the floor to Anita. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, His Excellency Samilio, for explaining about the governance and institutional mechanism of the social protection, the lay of the land with respect to the digitalization status of social protection, and also for sharing the key 3 priority areas which involve integration with the identification system, integration and interoperability with the payment systems, as well as harmonizing all the different service providers, which is what the Digital Convergence Initiative also aims to do, which is integration and interoperability of different systems for the efficiency, better user experience, and all. So, and we do feel that we will learn from Cambodia through the dialogue series, and also provide a forum to contribute to the solving the challenges or issues and connecting with experts who can guide in the framing and architecture of the Cambodia integrated systems. So with this, I'll probably invite now Mr. Viesna to present the social protection system of Cambodia. Over to you, Mr. Viesna.
Thanks, Fernanda. Thanks, Anita, for giving me the floor. And a very good evening from Cambodia. And greeting all the distinguished participants and representatives from all the development partners and the government institutions. My name is Viesna. My working area is in the ICT specialist of the General Secretariat for the National Social Protection Council. I'm working in the, in the area of digital transformations in social protection in Cambodia. And today, it is my great pleasure to be a guest speaker in this event of the Global Dialogue Series on talking interoperability. And I will present on the Cambodia context regarding the harmonization of digital social protection in Cambodia. I would like to start my presentation with the brief of the background of the social protection in Cambodia. Currently, Cambodia has around 17 million populations with 25 provinces. Not a very large population compared to the countries in the region. In 2017, the government of the Kingdom of Cambodia has established the National Social Protection Councils, called NSPC in short, which His Excellency Mr. Samdi has mentioned earlier, that the NSPC here play a role on, the main role is to develop the social protection system and to ensure a better harmonization of different strategies, policies, and other social protection activities as well, and responsible for ensuring the coordination of multi-sectoral issues among the various ministries in Cambodia. NSPC has a General Secretariat for the National Social Protection Council, called GS-NSPC in short, as the coordination body, and one of its important roles is to resolve the fragmented issues, ensuring the efficiency and transparency of the program and schemes implementations, as well as support a better digital interoperability of social protection stakeholders in Cambodia. The GS-NSPC has also established in 2017. Here in this slide, I'm going to talk about the social protection stakeholders in Cambodia, all the key players that have been, we have been divided into three main parts. The first part is the policymaker, which consists of NSPC as an umbrella, the EXCO, or the Executive Committee, responsible for the monitoring and supervising the implementation of relevant social protection policies and strategies, plans, and also shall report and give advice to the NSPCs as well. And the third box is the GS-NSPC acts as a coordination body, and we facilitate. The main role that I will focus and raise today is about the interoperability. The second part is the schemes and program operators, which operate independently by different institutions and government agencies. As you could see in the second box, we are having NSF, the National Social Security Fund, who are managing the social health insurance as well as the pensions for private sector. Ministry of Planning, MOP, they are managing the ID pool system. We also have PCA, NSSFC, we and PWDF, who are currently managing different programs and schemes. In the last box is the service providers, which we are having hospitals, banks, and wing agencies who play a very important roles in delivering services and protections to our citizens. The distinguished participants, I would like to take this opportunity to share a little bit more on the overview of social protection system in Cambodia. The social protection in Cambodia has two main pillars: the social assistance and the social security at the right-hand side. Social assistance consists of 4 program components such as emergency response, human capital development, vocational training, and welfare for vulnerable people. Along with that, we are also having social security, which consists of 4 programs as well. And, we are having pensions, currently, just start to operate, health insurance schemes, employment injury, and unemployment. Within this program and scheme component, the government of the Kingdom of Cambodia has established many programs and schemes to support the citizens, especially the poor households and the vulnerable group. I will not mention all of them, as you could see in the slide already. For instance, I will point out the social health insurance, which, as you could see, we have 3 types of different schemes already. The first one is the health insurance for civil servants, for formal private workers, which both of these schemes are operated by NSF. And the health equity fund is managing by payment certification agencies. We call it PCA in short, under Ministry of Health. For the human capital development, we are also having the cash transfer program for pregnant women and children under 2 years old, which is currently operating by the Ministry of Social Affairs, and so on and so on. By mentioning all of these details, I would like to point out that by taking this decentralized approach, having different government agencies operate different programs and schemes to ensure the efficiency of the beneficiary identity or identification, which leads us to the issues of system fragmentation. And I would like to elaborate it more about these cross-cutting issues in the next 4 or 5 slides as well. By aiming and looking toward a vision of increasing the status of Cambodia to become an upper middle income country in 2050, one of the long-term visions is to develop the robust social protection system as a tool for reducing and preventing poverty, vulnerability, and inequality, as well as stimulate the economic growth. The National Social Protection Policy Framework, or we call it NSPPF in short, has established in 2016. And it is in place now. We are working based on these policies. Our focusing on our ultimate goal, our ultimate is aims of the integrations of data and information management system would be improve the citizens' experience and access of social protection program and schemes. To have a better experience, the digital solution is main objective that could enable accessibility, reduce the workload, and to avoid the inconsistency of the identifications. In this slide, also very important that this will show the step that we have taken so far, and these are the steps that we have taken from 2019 until now. In 2019, we started to bring all related stakeholders to do the diagnostic study in order to understand the digital social protection landscape, discuss the challenges of the decentralized approach, which lead to system fragmented issues. And also we set clear directions together moving toward forward and, to solve these cross-cutting issues. By 2020, the government of Kingdom of Cambodia established the decision on creating the technical working group for harmonization of the registration systems and data management, which consists of high-ranking members from around 11 ministries, working together toward building an interoperability system for social protection. The big advantage for us now is, we are having Cambodia data exchange platform called Camdex in the step 3, as you could see, already in place, which we also, which it is also under the administration of the Ministry of Economy and Finance as well. And step 5, which we are currently implementing, is to build the interoperability pilot project to prove the linkages idea, which support by the Asian Development Bank, ADB, working, with many more stakeholders to, with the line ministries as well, especially on the health insurance sectors such as NSF, PCA, MOP, MOSWI, and, and Ministry of Interiors. In this year, we join hands with the stakeholders by having ADB and GIZ supports. We are in the stage of testing the establishment of the API connection to link the existing system in health insurance sector now with, with our social protection registry. Along with that, we are also developing the digital transformation strategic planning for social protection, which is in the 0 draft now, and in the stage of collecting inputs from all the stakeholders and development partners now. Last but not least, we are also working on developing the capacity building plan for the GS-NSPC teams, as well as the stakeholders, without enhancing their expertise in digital solution and strategic direction, we will not be able to move forward faster and efficiently. All the respective participants, we are aware of the system fragmented issues which occurred in many countries and in Cambodia as well. As I mentioned earlier, we have, we are having many government agencies and institutions that are operating different programs and schemes which require them to develop their own management information system. In some schemes, they have more than one management information system, or MIS, or even databases or registries, as you could see at the bottom of the slide. In the health insurance side, we are having even more than 2 databases or registries, I would say. This led us to the problem of the duplicate identification. For example, one person need to spend their time, to follow each, registration procedure, and, as well as each system will generate a different unique identity or identifier for one physical body. Now, even me is holding more than 3 cards to identify my identity. The second problem is, unable to exchange the data. The operators are currently working, in silos, which most of them don't have communication with each other, unable to cross-check between the systems to see, the entitled status of the beneficiaries, so on and so forth. Or even in the case that some of the operators established the API connections to exchange the data, it is still in the bilateral way of doing that, without a type of proper proper data exchange mechanism or standard. The third one, redundant works and processes. Due to the decentralization approach is taken, at the commune village or the service providers have to use many platforms to serve different schemes and programs, and the beneficiary and the vulnerable people need to register into the specific scheme, follow certain criteria differently, which is time consuming and inefficient. The fourth one, talking about the inconsistent of data, currently in the pilot project implementation stage, after we deep dive into the stakeholder data sets, we could address, we could see that the main issues of the data inconsistency, most of them, because most of them are storing the data in a different format. For example, the address, address code, some of them are storing as strings, or some of them are storing as code, or they come up with their own format. And another example is the date of birth. In different systems are storing different formats as well. Most importantly, the issues of the typo in the first name and last name fields. For an instance, we don't have a single source of truth to verify this identity information yet, because the COVS system is not yet ready, and most of the people will receive the Khmer ID or the national ID card only the people above 15 years old. To resolve these fragmented issues, the GS-NSPC and the technical working group have decided to move forward with a unique digital social protection ID for the individual, which we are currently in the development stage right now. As I mentioned earlier about the fragmented and identification issues, our future system perspective is to move from the monolithic or silo system into the harmonized and interoperable digital ecosystem, in which the joint beneficiary registry or the social protection registry will play a very important role as a central social protection registry to enable the data exchange and data transmission mechanism. Identity deduplication generate a unique digital social protection ID, as well as link this new ID with the existing IDs to enable the data synchronization. I will elaborate more about this in the next few slides. The key components that support this trend, the central beneficiary or central social protection registry, consists of data storage, software, and infrastructure. The infrastructure here and the data storage are already in place, and we are currently using the data center of the Ministry of Economy and Finance. The Central Social Protection Registry here will contain only the identification data of the beneficiaries and the target people who are potentially could entitle, or enroll into the program or schemes. The third point, we guarantee the uniqueness of the physical body image in the level of biometric through the validation with the national Khmer ID system. However, for an instant, we could validate the identity above 15 years old only. The last point will help, solve the identification challenge for HSPIS. The system belongs to the National Social Security Fund. PMOS is a system of the payment certification agencies, and the ID pool of Ministry of Planning, extra. This diagram shows the process flow of the identification between the operators databases and datasets with the Central Social Protection Registry by having the Cambodia Data Exchange, CAMDX, as the interoperability layer. I will also mention more about the CAMDX platform in the next slides as well. Since we had started conceptualizing the IPs, or the CRVS is a key data source that we consider it as the single source of truth. But after many rounds of discussions with Ministry of Interior, we found out that not all the citizens' identities are stored in the CRVS database. And the people above 15 will have a Khmer IDs as well. This is a big challenge for us. So what are the digital solutions to tackle this blocking point? We had conducted many consultations and concrete diagnostic studies, and we proposed to develop a social protection registry. We call it SPR, which our main goal, is to reduce the burden of the service providers, commune village officers, and improve the experience of the end users by introducing the unique digital social protection ID, or SPID. And this SPID will also link to all the IDs that were generated by the operators. By doing so, we could enable the data cross-check, and having the single identity for the beneficiary and potential beneficiaries. By having the architecture in place, we are working toward less fragmentation by defining the data exchange standard for social protection, make use of the existing CAMDX platform, also engaging the stakeholders and introducing the SPR to enable the interoperability as an ecosystem. And eventually, and also more importantly, our goal is to working toward a unique ID. Let's say one ID for all, so that people don't need to carry with them many cards to identify whether he is a Mr. A or Mr. B. They just need one card, or even they use a single sign-on on phones to to identify, to authenticate their their identity. The role of CAMDX here, by mentioning a lot about CAMDX, I just want to point it out. What is the role of CAMDX exactly here? Basically, the main goal of CAMDX is to build an infrastructure that allow for establishing effortless access to the data in government databases, both public services and private sectors as well, without compromising the security and ownership of the data, with minimal technical changes in the existing information system. In short, CAMDX is facilitating only the data exchange, and CAMDX won't store any data. They only provide a unified data exchange standard, provide a secure overlay network for the data transmission, a unified API infrastructure for interoperability, and CAMDX can be scalable. Moreover, CAMDX platform adopted, we adopted this CAMDX platform from the X-Road model from Estonia. By having, I would say, the ground of the infrastructure in place, we are able to work further to reduce the fragmented issues of redundant work processes and inconsistency of the data by mapping the similar work process, introduce an integrated digital social protection platform, providing a verification service to our operators to verify the identity with the Social Protection Registry, SPR. And also we enable the connections to the CRVS database as well to verify the identity from all our operators. The last one, the API infrastructure for the data synchronization from the various stakeholders within the scope of health insurance schemes. This is the digital infrastructure explanation. As you could see, we are having the civil registration in place. It is, currently up and running, and also responsible institution is the Ministry of Interiors. But as I mentioned earlier, only people above 15 that having the identity registered in the CRVS database. The Social Protection Registry is currently under the development stage. I would not say GS-NSPC, own the SPR, but all the NSPC members that join hands that I also mentioned earlier, we are having the technical working group. So this technical working group, join hands and to develop this social protection registries. The payment platform, I would say the integrated one, we still facing the issues of the payment gateway, which we are, conduct the diagnostic study now to building the payment gateways, as well as not building, because we also one of our key player in Ministry of Economy and Finance start to develop this already, but we are currently in the stage of conducting this diagnostic study on the integrated payment for the social protection specifically. Also under the development, the grievance redressal and the National Social Protection Digital Platform also under the development. The data exchange platform is up and running by the Data Startup Center, also under Ministry of Economy and Finance. The full-fledged data center also, we are having it in place as well. This is the big picture of the future digital social protection. Most of our stakeholders have seen this blue picture many times already. It's very simple that we divide it into three main blocks. If you see in the first block here, we have many MIS or many management information systems operated by many operators or the service providers, and all of the MIS has a common functionalities, which they are doing outreach communication and then check the eligibility, enroll the beneficiary or the vulnerable people, doing the cash transfer, payment, disbursement, and also the service delivery. And all of them are having the beneficiary or member management module and many more, but I would mention only all of these functionalities because all of their system are having this, and it is duplicate, and duplicate not only the function but the work at the commune village, at the service provider side as well. So we introduce the second pillar, or the second blocks, is the integrated operational platform, which we introduce the integrated beneficiary management. It is in a stage of testing, testing the idea, testing the technical concept that we are having in 2 districts now. We are going, this integrated operational platform also consists of payment platform, monitoring and data analytics, feedback complaint and complaint management, access of needs and condition, and also other cross-cutting operations. The most important part here, we are talking about the identification and the registries. Our goal is to build the National Social Protection Registry, which we divided into 3 phases, which now we are currently developing in, stepping in first phase, focusing only on health beneficiary registries. So only the health insurance side, which I mentioned earlier, we're working with NSF, PCA, MOP, and also include CDPs as well at most of it. This after this phase 1, we will expand it to the Social Security Registry, which we expanded to another 3 schemes and programs, and then later on we scale it up to the rest of the program and scheme in social protection. This registry will store only the identification information of the beneficiary, as well as we are having the social registry here, which store all the information or the data of the potential. The data here, I mean the identity of all the potential potential beneficiary, which not entitled with by scheme and program yet, but likely potentially in the future they could be entitled by any schemes. Like now we are launching pension schemes, so most of them likely will receive that pensions even they are working in the private sectors. And apart from that, we also include the connection with the IPs and Khmer ID. Take this ID as the primary key, so that in the future we could cross-check the identity, our identity in the social protection registry with the IPs or the COVS system as well, to see to ensure the data consistency. The interoperability pilot project here. I think these are the summary of what we have been doing so far with the pilot project, or we could say it is a showcase project that we are working to establish a joint social protection registry to connect, and we are by having the beneficiary around 10,000 records from 4 stakeholders such as PCA, NSF, MOP, and ID pool on board. Basically, we start with the defining the master data sets to connect the existing software solution of the 4 stakeholders to the registry. I could tell you that it is such a challenge for us, because 4 of this system or databases or the registries that they are having, storing the data, the identity data in different format. Even just a small case of the data birth, we have to map between their format into our format, from our format to their format when we push the data back and forth. This is in the stage of establish the connection. So that's such a challenge, but we still went through that. Creating a unique lifelong digital social protection ID. Whenever that the stakeholders register a new beneficiary, now they have to push or post the request to our SPO to check whether this person exists in another scheme or not, and this person has already registered to receive the social protection ID or not. If not exist, and then we generate a new unique SP ID for that, and then all stakeholders will need to store that new unique ID, so that in the future they could also use their card or the new ID that we generated to to enable the possibility of using one card for all or one unique ID for all. The third one is to gaining the a good understanding of the deduplication efforts. We are having million records in all, just talking about the health insurance schemes. Many databases consist, inside that, and in each database we are having million records. So we are working toward how could we deduplicate, how could we do the initial upload into our registry to ensure that we have a unique identity, and also ensure that we could push back and forth the identity, doing the data synchronizations as well. So this is also a step that have been taken in this pilot project. The fourth one is the we established the connection for all the stakeholders to do the data exchange. We use the Cambodia Data Exchange, or CAMDX, as a secure interoperability layer, so that it is like, you know, a private network that could ensure that only the connection established only from SPR to the ministry's database or infrastructure. So no one else beside that network could access this connection. So we ensure the security of the data. The last one is we enable the beneficiary citizen identity verification with MOI. This is also a big challenge for us as well. Along with the SPR development, we are also developing the integrated digital social protection system. We call it IDSPS, which is the platform, not the registry, but the platform consists of the common, I would say, common functionalities that I mentioned earlier from the first block in our ultimate goal, which will provide the flexibility to all the stakeholders, and especially the new schemes that does not have the sophisticated IT solution in place, so that they don't need to develop it from scratch, but instead we have the integrated platform one that they could adopt, or they could use it directly just to create their schemes, and then our system we develop in the you know, in the sense of dynamic, so that we could configure the registration form based on their needs, something like that. I think we come to the conclusion, and I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Digital Convergence initiatives that organize this crucial event, and thanks to the development partners that have been supporting these digital social protection activities in Cambodia, particularly to the interoperability system, which step by step make the social protections, you know, data more reliable, integrity and secure as an ecosystem. Finally, I thanks to all the participants here for paying attention. I would like to end my presentations here. Thank you very much. Over the floor to you, Anita.
Yeah, thank you, Vesna, for that very lucid presentation explaining your journey to developing an interoperable system through the 5-step process, with the first step being the diagnostic and the 5th step being the pilot of integrating 4 systems. So we would look forward to hearing from you sometime later, after a few months or a year, on the results and lessons learned from this pilot and the way forward. So I think one quick question that I would like to ask before inviting our discussants is, I've been hearing about this SPID, which I presume it is at an individual level. Do you also have any identification for identifying the household? Do you have any household ID? And which is the database which will be showing that household ID?
Yes, Anita, thanks for your, this is a very good question. And we addressed it so far that from the beginning, we are thinking toward the unique ID for the individual only. But in the stage of piloting, we address that, okay, in order to connect with ID pool system, because they are system storing the, you know, they structuring their data as the household base, which, you know, they assign the unique ID to households as well. Now we are in the stage of, you know, conceptualizing to make the identity, the SPID for the individual, which we add the relation for the household structures as well. So we take that, you know, as a family tree. That this is what we are currently conceptualizing and developing as well. We don't have the unique household ID for the specific social protection registry. This is the answer.
Okay, thanks. Good to hear. So now I'll invite Robert to share his reflections on this presentation and engage in a dialogue with you on the Cambodia system. Over to you, Robert.
Thanks, Anita, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me here today. And thanks for that excellent presentation, Vesna. And and Excellency Samedi. I was very excited when I heard about this project some time back, and I think it's a great initiative. We at the World Bank are supporting this type of initiative in a number of countries in this region. We're supporting this in the Philippines and Vietnam, and hopefully in Indonesia and even Thailand, where I live these days, who is now considering trying to go down the same road that you're going. So in some ways, you're conceptually ahead of some of your peers in the region. Now, some of the countries are in a different stage of a starting point for what they can do with the building blocks that they have. And so, this type of interoperability for a social protection system, we definitely think is the future. Most countries, all countries essentially started with silos, silo programs, silo systems. I work in social insurance more than in social assistance, and those two usually never talked, and usually the social insurance had the better systems because they had more money, particularly in the early years when they were collecting contributions and they didn't have expenditures. And that's a very typical pattern across the world. But now what's happening is that there's a recognized need for the systems to talk to each other. And when we saw the COVID response, we saw that the ability to respond really depended on their ability to have databases that they could look at quickly to identify who was in need, who was in the informal sector that should receive support. And we can talk about that at a different time, but I think there were lessons from that experience that in this region, in East Asia, we're seeing a lot of action now following the pandemic. So those building blocks, a few reflections, if I can, include things like having a good digital interface with your population. And Anita mentioned some of the enablers of that. You have very high mobile phone penetration rate. In fact, I see digital payments really taking off now, and everybody having a smartphone in Cambodia. The central common data standards, which you're working on across government databases, the CAMX, you have that piece in place. That's another building block, and data protection and data sharing rules and regulations. So, but the building blocks really begin with the identification system. And here, I don't mean the ID poor, because the term ID poor, unfortunately, sort of has some connotation of being associated with how you identify people, pure identification, which is not. It's really trying to determine whether they are eligible for a program. Where identification for me, coming from our identification for development group, as does Anita, is very specific. And for social protection purposes, it does three things. It ensures that I do have that one source of truth, and I do have that ability to spot duplicates either within one database or across. Second, I'm able to do authentication of transactions at the point of the delivery of whether it's cash or services. And third, and what this is all about really, is to do data sharing and to be able to link different databases, which is a very powerful tool from the government side, and also very powerful in terms of better service for the clients here, the citizens who should not have to, I filled out 3 forms on the airplane from Bangkok to Cambodia. And each time I had to fill out my date of birth, my name, my phone number, my passport number, 3 different pieces of paper. This is the kind of thing, in the future, we're all going to try to move away from. So I had 3 sort of questions or things to talk about. One is on the first building block, this national ID. So I was wondering, what was the rationale for deciding you're going to do a specific social sector ID? Some countries just use the foundational ID, in this case, like the Khmer ID. Vietnam, for example, is doing this. They're using the national ID number as the unique identifier. They're not adding a layer. I can think of some good reasons for doing it, but I'm wondering what your rationale was doing that. I have a couple of other questions on ID, but well, let me ask 2 more questions on ID and then I'll turn it over. In addition to that question, what issues do you foresee? And you mentioned some of them already. So on the one hand, you have an issue with under 15s, and that I guess has to do with getting the birth registration process complete, high coverage, and I think you do have relatively high coverage, but digitized. Here, Vietnam is fairly advanced. They had recently completed their digitization and centralization of their birth registration records. And when a child is born, the national ID is issued, the number is issued to the child. So the national ID comes from one ministry of the Interior, but the civil registration is run by a different ministry, but they've linked up so that that child is immediately issued a unique number. And then that number is sent to the Vietnam Social Security Administration so that that child can be listed as covered by health insurance for that policy. So there is some, I think, outside of your project, there may be some important reforms to be done that will make your project, much more viable. And the last thing, I guess, is whether the Ministry of Interior has the capacity to do the things that you need it to do, or are you going to build, for example, an authentication layer on top of this that will not involve the Ministry of the Interior being involved in that? So these are some questions about the ID, and maybe I have 2 other topics I would like to raise if we have time. But I'll listen to Anita. She'll tell me when to stop. So let me start with that.
So Anita, shall I answer the
Yeah,
question?
please.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks very much for type of reflections on the presentations and for your questions as well. This is a very good question from you, Robert. This is the question that we always receive from our stakeholders as well as the development partners as well. Why don't we use the national ID from the Ministry of Interiors, from the identification systems, so that we don't need to create the social protection registries to have the SP ID? Why we already have the the ground infrastructure of doing that? Why we do another database to identify the citizens? The reason is, in our initiative, we don't think about creating the social protection registry or social registry or beneficiary registry at all. We aim for using the identification ID from, especially Khmer IDs as the primary keys to link all of other IDs in Cambodia. But when we do the diagnostic study, at that times, the data is not yet consistent. This is the first one. Only half of the data is digitalized, is in the database, half of it on the paper. And at that time, we met a challenge of having, above 15 years old that will receive the Khmer ID. Below that, we don't have any IDs to, address or to identify the physical body image. This is the reason that we decided to, not we, but we discussed in the technical working group among the 11 ministries, and we are looking the countries around the regions to see what will they do. And of course, you're raising the Vietnam case that they are having, they are taking the national IDs as a single source of truth and link other IDs together. But unfortunately, we could not do that based on the reasons that I mentioned earlier. By discussing in the technical working groups, we could see that we don't want to wait until the COVS ready. So all the data has been in place, and then we will wait another 2. At that time is 2019, you know. We could not wait for another 2 or 3 years just to have the COVS complete, and then we start linking all of the system, because the fragmented issues become bigger and bigger when it comes to we are launching new schemes and new programs. Some scheme they create 1 or 2 databases, the system to manage. So we decided to create the registry, which we have a rooms to link with the national ID later on. So that is the win-win policies that we could think within the 11 ministries. So we came up with that idea. For, you know, most of your question is related with the MOI identification and the SPID. I hope what I described earlier answer to all your questions, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall I continue, Anita? Do I have a little more time?
Yeah, you can have another question, and we can bring you back for the third question if time permits, but you can have, but I think just on this, I felt the second part of the question, Robert, do you think the authentication aspect, you want to ask that, or that was covered from your perspective?
No, I guess, yeah, that still is unclear to me, whether you'll build a sort of an authentication layer for the programs to use, rather than relying on hitting the central Khmer ID database.
So if I can probably rephrase this question, Vyasna, the question is that, you know, when people want to identify themselves, is an online authentication possible, or you have to do a API level check only by the system? Can people identify online?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't get your question earlier, Robert. I think now I got the questions. So the process of identifications here, we don't have any online platform for now to identify the physical body image, you know, to receive, for example, receive the benefit, receive the service. We still use, or the citizens or the beneficiaries still use the existing systems of the service provider side. For example, NSF, they provide, let's say, easier than that, Mosavi, they are providing cash transfer for pregnant women. They are having the CTP system, which we have to go and identify themselves. So they have a card, the ID of the equity card, so that they type it into the CTP system and then send it to ID pools to validate whether this person is eligible as the poor people or poor household or not, something like that. It is importantly that to state it that, you know, all the system has connections to each other. So the establishment of the API connection that allow all of the system talk with each other is the main priorities, as well as having the SPO in the middle to ensure the consistency of the data, allow that we have the API connection for them so that they could post the data for us to verify whether this is the unique person, you know, identity. So we just respond back to them, okay, this person is valid to receive the benefit, something like that. So it is still on the API based communication, which is the approach that we are taking. Thank you.
Thanks. So another kind of reflection I've had, you know, talking to practitioners who have been involved in your position, doing what you're trying to do. For example, in Chile, we had a colleague who joined the World Bank after spending 5 years trying to do what you're doing in Chile, maybe 15 to 20 years ago. And her presentation would always emphasize the fact that a lot of the challenge was less technical than it was institutional, and trying to get the various stakeholders to play together and to cooperate, particularly share, you know, losing some control in a sense of their data and having to show their data, expose their data, and see the problems that their data have. I'm thinking about when I have talked to His Excellency about this is that how the NSPC is quite a useful entity in this situation, because many countries do not have a National Social Protection Council like this, which brings, you already have sort of the stakeholders all sitting at a table together. And so I'm wondering if my hunch, if my guess is right, that is something that has helped facilitate things. When we talk to some other countries, we almost have to say, you have to set up something like that to actually be able to get this thing done. So that's my other kind of question reflection. Anita, I just will sneak in there that I am interested in hearing about how they are planning to deal with the longer term. So you've got the NSSF and the health insurance and ID poor, including the ID poor people, but that will still leave a large non-poor informal sector out there. And in order to be able to respond to COVID and to respond to crises that happens that come along, we're going to want to have data on all those individuals and households as well. So if there has been any thinking about beyond this first and second stage where you're dealing with the existing databases, and there's been discussion about collecting data on 2 million informal sector workers. I've heard that was announced at some point in Cambodia. So is that something that could help fill that gap? So I'll stop there. Sorry if I've overextended, Anita.
No worries. I'll let Vyasna respond to both the queries.
Yes, thanks very much. I think this is also very good questions as well. I agree with the Chile case because I joined that as well, and we are facing the same, the same issues in the beginning. And in our SWOT analysis, one of our strengths is to have the coordination body, which is the GS-NSPC and the NSPC as an umbrella, to coordinate in the various stakeholders or ministries, to in the social protection umbrella. So about the coordination, yes, we spent almost 2 years to set the right directions, to engage all the stakeholders on the same table, talking on the challenges, address all the challenges, and then set the direction what we are going to do together. We need to join hand, and then this is the direction we go together toward the harmonization, something like that. This consultation took us 1.5 to 2 years, and at the same time, we are having the diagnostic study concept. We are starting the conceptualization as well. So from 2019 to 2021, we got the technical concept in place, all the stakeholders' consent, and we are ready to kick off. And now we spend, 1 year already to be on board on the, kick off the implementation, the development phase. The long-term goal, we are still, stay, I think, whether from now on to the next 5 years, we still stay on the principle of not replacing any one systems. We are working together to just link and make sure that we could manage the unique identity, and then we could have the identity linked with all the identity or the unique identifiers issued by different ministries and our operators as well. So all of those systems will remain the same. They could enhance or improve their operational systems to make it more efficient. But at the same time, we need to establish the connections to ensure that we could manage the identity of our beneficiaries and the identification well at in the central social protection registries. I think this is the long-term goal that we are having, and now I think up to 2023 we are still focusing on the health insurance side. Besides that, in long-term goal, we will expand it to the social security. All the scheme under social security will be linked. And then the later stage, which is I show you in the blue picture, in the phase 3, we will engage all the schemes and programs in the social protections to link as an ecosystem. This is our long-term goal. Over.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I'll probably bring you again, time permitting. But now I'll probably move on to requesting Finn to share his reflections and engage in a dialogue with the presenters on this. Over to you, Finn.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Vesna. Thank you, Excellency Somebody, for the excellent presentation. I think I share many similar thoughts with what Robert has shared, and I do have two broader questions, and some very specific questions. But I would like to start with the broader question because I see that Robert has already touched on it, and I would like to build on it. So I think Robert mentioned, some of these big challenges. It's often in coordination, to get different stakeholders to work together, sharing data to implement kind of digital social protection, a unique digital social protection ID that's an interoperability between different IT systems of the different stakeholders. Besides the coordination challenges, what are some of these ongoing or foreseeable challenges for, in Cambodia that will impede, this, or that would provide a challenge to this realizing of this future digital SP? Specifically, are there any challenges related to human capital, IT infrastructure, or maybe digital penetration or digital awareness of the population in Cambodia? One example I would like to bring out is I recall holding a workshop here in Cambodia where I asked a lot of this civil servants in one of the ministries and institutions if they have we were talking about digitalization, and I was asking them if they had actually bought a plane ticket. So most of them, half of them or most of them would have raised their hands. And then I went on to give the example of how you could, using the booking system online, to make the changes of your flight tickets, to add baggages, to add food, etc., add these other services into it. And that's when I lost the audience. And I was wondering why. And then I asked the second question, and I realized that almost everyone who raised their hands and said they have bought an air ticket bought it through a travel agent instead of going online, to buy the plane ticket themselves. So I'm aware that digital awareness, or the say digital penetration within the population may still be limited. So do you see that as a challenge?
Thanks, Finn. This is also very good questions. The ongoing or foreseen challenges, beside what I have mentioned earlier, I think the main, I would rather divide it into 4 factors or 4 main challenges. The first one is the human resource. It is really limited. We are in the difficulty of finding the resourceful person at the technical level, as well as related with the social protection itself. It is challenging to find the resource to workings together for all the stakeholders as well. They are really difficult in the difficulty of finding the resourceful persons which have the knowledge related with the topic that we are talking here. The second one is about the regulation and legislations regarding the cybersecurity, the data privacy, and information and type of policies as well. How to, all of this policy is missing here, but we are having Ministry of Interior is drafting the cybersecurity law now, and based on that, we are also expose all of these challenges in our digital transformation strategic planning as well, but it is in the draft version right now, which we are going to work on that legislation or type of policies in the upcoming months. The third one is the improving and modernize the existing ICT systems, which, you know, it is coming into the financial resources again. It is, you know, it will be require a lot of investments, you know, to build the type of robust ICT system for each scheme and programs. You know, at the program level, that's why we are thinking about the integrated operational platform one in the middle, whether they could embed or they could make use of the integrated one without developing or without having the budget spend or the investment at the program level much. The last one is the stakeholders and development partners coordination. You know, most of the schemes and program operators, they have received the technical assistance from many development partners, develop their own system, which is good. We think which is good, but you know, without taking or without bearing the visions of harmonizing in one direction, that GS-NSPC trying to get the people on board, trying to show the direction, trying to show the challenges and the advantage of harmonizations. So if they don't bear with it, in the future, they need to develop it again to establish the connections, to adjust their system. So this type of coordination, we have to we are not talking only with the ministries, but also we need to, you know, join hands with the development partners as well to understand this direction, which these 4 factors are also mentioning in the digital strategic planning as well. I'm not sure that my colleague, you know, haven't heard from Michael yet. I don't know if Michael wanted to say something. Okay.
Michael, do you want to add something?
Yes, thank you very much, Vishna. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Stahl. I'm an embedded advisor working very closely with Mr. Vishna and the team. I just want to make a comment to what Robert pointed out, the organizational challenges and the transformation of organizations. What we realized 2 years ago when we worked on the general overall concept was that people had very little understanding what digital interoperability actually means. And everyone was scared to give up their existing systems because they considered data sharing as giving up power. And it was very challenging to get the stakeholders on board. And this was the idea when this pilot project, which was well presented by Mr. Vishna, got founded. And we realized we need to get stakeholders on board first to make them excited about interoperability. What does it mean? What does it not mean? And how can we get people on board that they are actively willing to share data and to understand the value of having better connected systems? And I would fully agree on what Robert already said. This challenge is much bigger than the technical challenge, and we are very happy that we set it up in the right way. We got stakeholders on board, and this interoperability pilot project will now hopefully reinforce what we said. You will have a value if you connect to the central registry. It's not just for the GS-NSPC to pull data out, it has a value for yourself. And yes, it is challenging. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I do have a second question that I think is a bit more specific, and it's related to the point that both yourself and Vishna has added to. I think, I mean, just also a very quick reflection. I think having an integrated operational platform if it is conceived as one system for all operators, I think it's very ambitious. I'm not sure if this is ever possible, but an interoperable system across different operators is definitely something that I think has been achieved by many countries around the world. My question actually focuses a little bit more into the question, into the question of standards and bearing in mind that harmonization of systems, different systems, is often a moving target. As you try to harmonize system A and system B, system C comes up, and then you want to make sure that C works with A and B, and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting to hear that, in the Ministry of Technology, they are already working on cybersecurity law, which is, I would say, a standard that should be applied across all systems in Cambodia. So where is the GS thinking? And understand where's the GS thinking, and in terms of processes, in terms of developing social protection standards, data standards, system standards, operability standards in social protection, to actually proactively, kind of reduce variances within new systems, and hence the need to harmonize system retrospectively.
Yes, thanks for your question, Finn. I think this is a very crucial point that we have to work on in in the next steps, because without the standard, without set the standard or the policy guideline correctly, we could not frame and operate this type of interoperability correct in the term of many stakeholders join the effort. So like I mentioned earlier, we stated this missing point in our digital transformation strategic planning, and it is one of the main strategic objectives that we have to take, that we have to take action on. In the technical side, we are also setting the standard of the identifications. What is our social protection identity standard? What we are setting up the infrastructure, the API infrastructure standards as well. If the new system, for example, like what you just mentioned earlier, we have system A, B, and future we have C, D, E, F, and then they will come. So they will, they could just consume the API infrastructure that we put in place already, with their new developed system or their existing system, just plug it in, because we are trying to build a standard, build the infrastructure ready for them to connect, ready for them to be on board, and do the data exchange to make the system as an ecosystems. I would give the opportunity again to Michael. I know that he will contribute more on that.
Yes, thank you very much, Visna. I think when it comes to developing standards, we should separate the technical standards from the procedural standard, in my opinion. And I think on the technical level, our ongoing pilot project will give us a lot of hints where we need to standardize processes on the technical side. As Visna already said, master data set is a big word. So what does that mean? It basically means having a standardized data set so that systems can communicate with each other, to put it in easy words. But at the same time, we may need standards on the cybersecurity side or on the procedural side of registration or deregistration. And honestly speaking, I don't think we have enough standards in place. This is definitely something we need to work on. At the moment, we're very much diving into the technical standards and requirements, which comes through the nature of this pilot project. And CamDX will help us with that. But yes, I would say there is a need to discuss more standards beyond the technical standards only.
So thank you, Michael, and thank you, Vesna and Finn, for that engaging discussion. And I think on the standards under the Digital Convergence Initiative, we are coming up with data standards, process standards, and technical standards, which will be shared at Digital Public Goods. I hope some of these would be of value to Cambodia, and we would love to hear your feedback if they don't work in your context. so that we can refine and revise the standards for the benefit of the whole SP community. With this, I'll probably just take a couple of questions that we have got from the audience, and to see if we still have time left, we can give it back to our discussants for a couple of more questions. So I think the first question which we have from Varsha Lakshmi is that, how is data privacy and security ensured for end users in Cambodia? And is there currently any measure in place drawing from the ID Poor program? Over to you, BS9, Michael.
Yes, thank you. And I think, again, for the data privacies and data security, we are having CamDX play a very important role to ensure. And then we have, CamDX is working on the regulations to set the data standard, because all of the identity, all of data transmission will go through this data exchange platform. But for the social protection specifically, we will, we are having the plan in place already of moving toward building the guideline, building the standard, building the data privacy policy, data protection policy, as well as the cyber security policy for specifically for the social protection data. But as of now, we don't have all of this policy or guideline in place yet. We are trying, we just take a step into testing the interoperability. We are in the stage of testing the connection, data transmission between one and another system, and testing the linkage, so on and so forth. So this is the things that we have to, working on it later on. And we totally agree that it's very important, crucial to consider. I will also need Michael to share his opinion as well, if he have any.
I have to admit, I have not more to share. The CamDX is the golden key for us at the moment, because they are really the glue for the technical interoperability while keeping all the security measures in place. So I have not much to add here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Michael and Vietnam. I think you're learning from the architecture that we have in Estonia, which is based on same X road. One key important component which helps in ensuring a check on privacy is the transparency portal, wherein people can go and check who has accessed which data, whether it is for any specific purpose or through hacking. Even authorized people should not be allowed to access data for their personal use, authorized people. So this transparency portal, I don't know if it is still a component of your social protection system. That is a good check and balance, which can ensure that even people with access to the systems don't misuse their power, putting the privacy of the individuals at risk. With this, I'll probably now take the second question, which is from a colleague from UNICEF. And the question is, is humanitarian assistance to internally displaced people part of the social protection system in Cambodia? If so, how are the beneficiaries registered in the information system?
Thanks for your second question. I think, in Cambodia, we follow the, the structure of the procedure from the operators. So each operators, they have their own procedures of the registrations, and, they have also different system, different workflow, different criteria of, checking the eligibility, about checking, the entitlement of each beneficiary that comes to register. We rely on them to register the beneficiaries, but at our side here, what we are trying to do is to manage the identity. We don't want it to be duplicated like this. So the identity now is being stored decentralized. with all the system have all Mr. A, for example, and then Mr. A store in a different structure and have different unique ID. We are trying to link those IDs together and store and duplicate all of those identities into the social protection registry with only one unique identity. But our SPID, of course, will link to all of those ID, and without removing all of those identity. Again, answer to the question, I think the procedure of the registration of the beneficiaries will rely on the operators. We don't have any integrated platform in the middle, or the single window, or a single window service that could serve when the beneficiary want to install or want to register into any program or scheme. They just come to the single window. We don't have plans to establish type of things, these things yet. I hope this answer to your question. And
yeah, thanks, Vyasna. I see that His Excellency Samidhi is trying to type an answer. Would you like to come in and add your thoughts to this? His Excellency Samidhi.
No, not at all. I just review the question and about to contribute to for the answer, but then Visna already covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have time for a quick question from the discussant. So probably I'll first pass it on to Robert, who had something pending. And if still we have time, if we don't get more questions from audience, I'll take one more from Finn. Over to you, Robert.
So, so my question was actually asked by Varsha on the data protection, and I do have to say, I just would say that I'm not sure that CAMX is really the locus of the responsibility for doing a data protection. Certainly for the technical issues and for doing what Anita was talking about in terms of having transparency about who is accessing what data and having logs and so on. But in terms of setting the rules of the game, for us at the World Bank, that's a really important part of this puzzle. If there's going to be data sharing across ministries of personal data, which is a very powerful tool for doing very good things, it can also be a very powerful tool in the other direction if the rules are not in place from the very beginning. And I'm sure I don't have to preach to GIZ about that, as they are the world leaders in this area. That's one point. And the other thing is that on the payments, I'm wondering how you're working with, I guess, the central bank there to move towards during the COVID cash transfer, you mentioned the payments were made. They were made in cash by one company, Wing. And so ideally, I mean, and it was done very well, very quickly. But ideally, we would have a system which would result in payments into accounts, preferably transactional accounts, and accounts of their choice. Now, this may be outside of the remit of your work, but I assume that then there's a lot of discussion with, you did mention something about overhaul of the government to payments system to coordinate the NSSF and others to do this sort of a whole of government rather than having silo arrangements between each agency and the beneficiaries. So maybe you could comment on that.
Yes, thanks, Robert, for this point. I totally agree with your first point, and the second point I would like to elaborate more on the payment. At the payment side of it, I think the integrated payment module is one of the important module in the NSPDP, the National Social Protection Platform. Our goal is to have the integrated payment, which could, reduce the bilateral establishment of the API connection from, for example, the from CTP systems in order to, or from most of the side, the Ministry of Social Affairs, in order to deliver the cash transfer for COVID-19 for poor people, they need to establish the connection, API connection with wing agencies or wing bank, right? And it is efficient on times, which is very good for us, very good for the citizens as well. But this approach is still in bilateral way. So in the future, if you have any schemes or program, for example, city COVID, they want to do the cash transfer, they need to establish the connection again, again and again bilaterally. So another scheme will come to another service providers, bank agencies, open up the bank account, different banks, something like that. So it will be a decentralized approach again. So we are trying to build one standard called integrated payment, which we need one payment, e-payment gateway, so that this payment gateway could push the transaction through all the, the bank, for example, to the barcode infrastructure, which have a lot of, payment agencies, member with the financial institutions inside that. So we will give the flexibilities to all the beneficiaries to select whenever they want to get the cash transferred into their bank account, and they could also select the bank, and then the transaction will go directly from our integrated payment to the payment gateway and push the transaction to the target or the selected financial institutions. And this integrated payment will play a very important role to reduce those bilateral establishment of the API connection. For example, in the future, if we have new schemes that want to do the cash transfer, they just use or they just consume the API of the integrated payments, and the payment will be made and will be supported by the existing infrastructure that we set up in place with the integrated payment platform, with the e-payment gateway, and then the transaction could be made. This is a bit talking in the technical side, and I still want to hear from Michael if he has any opinion on that.
Thank you, Vishnu. I think you explained it very well what we are planning, and what I want to add here is that this is nothing what we expect to happen overnight. It requires a lot of consultation meetings with the payment provider, with the government, with potential agents. I mean, Wing was mentioned already, and I think this is probably something we can achieve in the next 1, 2 to 3 years, and nothing we will do by the end of the year, for example. But apart from that, I think, Vishnu, you explained it very well. I have little to add. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Vishnu and Michael. I think we are reaching the close of the session, but I'll probably take this last question from the audience, which is, are there any steps taken to ensure better and complete coverage to the rural areas? This is a follow-up question from Varsha.
Maybe I can jump in because I have a related question to what Varsha has asked, because she's asking about coverage of rural areas, and I'm wondering from the GS-NSPC, from Vesna, whether there's any thinking about rolling out the CamDX to to other service providers, meaning banks, hospitals, or subnational actors like communes who are actually implementing social protection policy. Now, the question here follows because, for example, in Singapore, there is the SingPass, which is the digital ID for all residents. But for the businesses, they could access the SingPass system through a lighter platform called MyInfo, which allows them to call to the database and receive and do verification of individuals, do KYC, e-KYC of people. So is there any kind of thinking, because this would definitely help to ensure better coverage, especially to rural areas?
Yes, thanks for the question from the audience, and as well as what Finn has raised earlier. I think this is also the crucial points that need to expose in this sessions as well. I think regarding the CamDX, it is just the supporting infrastructure, supporting the data exchange. Whether we use it or not is the decision of the stakeholders. And you know, you are talking about eKYCs that also, you know, being, I would say we launched it already, not from GS-NSPC side, but from one of the institution under Ministry of Economy and Finance as well. And that would play a very important role, you know, in order to identify the, you know, identify the, we call it electronic know your customers. And that, you know, it reduced the burden of having many accounts at the same times, and also making sure that we have the mechanism of identifying the beneficiaries, identifying the customers as well. It works in that context. And talking about the, you know, expanding the coverage at the rural area, I think we are having, you know, we are having the infrastructure already at, which is currently managing by the Ministry of Planning. They are having the, you know, the ID pool identification, which, you know, covered the rural for the whole country, I would say, include the rural areas, even that the existing infrastructure, for example, the internet connection is not available in some places, but you know, it's still the digital technologies could resolve that issues and challenge already. This digital solution is in place, and it needs more times, you know, to elaborate on how ID pool has done that. I think that would be a separate sessions to, you know, to talking, you know, on the specific mechanisms of identifying poor household at the rural side. When we have that identification success, and then the question of coverage could come in. We could cover all the people at rural area or not. It is depending on how efficiency of the identifications at you know, at the social protection law was here. I would stop here and hand over to you, Anita. Thank you.
Thank you, Vyasna. Thank you to His Excellency Samidi, Vyasna, Michael, Robert, and Finn for this presentation and exciting discussion on this topic. Now I'll just invite Rodrigo from ILO to close this session. Over to you, Rodrigo.
Okay, thank you, Anita. Well, it's quite a pleasure to have heard this session, and my job is made extremely simple by the very comprehensive moderation, which is the first item I would like to thank, and also by all the help provided by socialprotection.org with all the organizational aspects. It goes without saying that the real value of this initiative and this event is really up to the presenters that come and provide not only their cases and the way they have worked within the context of these themes we discuss within the Digital Convergence Initiative, but also with their extreme humbleness in discussing such life-changing elements of their processes and their programs with us in such an open and comprehensive manner. So I'd really like to thank our presenters, and as well, and together with them, our discussants, my colleague from the ILO, my friend from the World Bank, and all the people who made this happen. As has already been mentioned, we will be publishing very soon, not only the recording of the whole session with the different translations and languages, but also the briefs, the presentations and the briefs that we provide in order to constitute and consolidate this body of knowledge, which is actually what we hope to contribute with this initiative. And finally, I'd like to extend the invitation to all of you, not only to take part in our next meeting, which will be on August the 11th, which I'm biased because it's about my country, but a presentation about some of the interoperability challenges of Brazil, and we will have the people from DataPrev, the social protection data processing company, coming and explain how they dealt with most of their interoperability challenges, especially during the pandemic. So my last thanks now are to all of you who have attended this session and actually made it happen. So thank you very much. And I hope all of us will meet again to develop further this cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.